also have to contact them. Land use, for example, from commercial to residential, they are the ones who approve. If they require to make that amendment, it's local government to apply to them for approval. Then physical planning board. The building committee is supervised by the National Building Review Board. Those are two issues. We have had meetings with these two agencies. We have agreed on the way forward. If I give an example, if for example, the development committee, the physical planning committee approves the site in the residential area, they are personally liable for the action. You don't be business as usual as we have been doing. We cover up things. We have agreed on that. That's the principle. If you make that mistake, you will be personally liable for that mistake. Equally, we have had meetings with the building committees. The National Building Review Board. We have also agreed on that in principle, that if there are errors, people should own their things. Because what is happening now, there are schools of thought that our department is the one licensing stations in residential areas. There has been that argument. Yet for us, we are picking it from the tail end, when approvals have been already issued by these two, by local authorities. So that's what we agreed on. And we are going to be rejecting now applications which are in residential. Then if the developer says, I have already approved the plan, we tell him that you go and handle that case with local authorities. If it issues it goes to court, local government will be the one to what? To compensate such cases. That's what is going to be happening. The other time I've been covering up, at least this man has got an approval from local authorities. Let us go ahead and approve. No, do not be business as usual from 1st January. So people will be liable for the action. The other issue is the National Environmental Management Authority. That one I've told you, issues to do with the environment. They are the concerned ones. Usually they have registered practitioners who have been certified by themselves, by NEMA. So they are usually online on their website. You can pick any to do data assessment. Then approvals are issued by the agency itself. Ministry of Energy, I've already told you what we do. We are issuing the petroleum facility construction permit. We issue completion certificates and then operating licenses. Lastly is the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. That handles issues due to occupational health and safety at a site. So you need also to get clearance once the plan is approved or before the plan is approved. UNRA, issues with road access. Most of these stations, of course, are on the highway. So you need to get prerequisite approval from Uganda National Road Authority to construct a station. We can move on. Hey, it has jumped. You move on the other one. The next one, please. Next one. Now, the next slide should have been this, the completion certificate. Once the site has been constructed, we need to confirm that this station or this installation has been constructed as per standards. We have standards which have been gazetted by Uganda National Bureau of Standards. We made these standards in conjunction with UNBS and other agencies. So these standards have been gazetted. So once the facility is constructed, we cross-check whether you have constructed as per those standards. Now we require you to present, of course you have already been issued with a construction permit, which should be part and parcel of the application. They require you to present an engineering report from a certified engineer, not Juakari engineers. So we presume you have done this work using a certified engineer. So we want him to own the works. There's one time, some station, was it in Isinjura or somewhere, or Bushenyi, which linked, and I remember they called our minister. There was an oil discovery in that locality. I remember in fact, every person was concerned. Our minister commissioned a team to go to that very site. Downstream, the station was up, then downstream, there was fuel. So when our team went there, they saw fuel. Then they said, but this can't be crude. This should be petroleum products. So when they checked, there was a station upstream. I won't mention the company. Now this company, the tanks were linking. For very many years, these tanks have been linking. Now this person, when you contacted him, he said, for me, I thought it was a ghost. This station had a ghost. so when we checked backwards, we realized the tanks have been leaking for some time. So that's the purpose why we want these engineers to own their work. And we need that report to be certified by them. And from that point, we require them to do also some leak detection for the underground tanks. Given these tanks are underground, so we require them to do a leak detection. And I'm happy to report that as a ministry, we have bought an equipment which can do now that detection also by ourselves. We can certify also on our side to confirm that the tank is not leaking. Because this petroleum product has a adverse effect on the environment. So just imagine what was the impact. For the last 5 years, this man has been, products have been leaking. This man has been making losses. So that's why we came up with that equipment. Now we can do that. Now the other issue is we need a site engineer's practicing certificate. For the engineer who has produced that report, we attach his practicing certificate so that we know that he is a genuine engineer. Now these tanks are required to be calibrated by UNBS, and we need a certificate to be attached on the application to that effect. We need also 4 passport photos which are colored. Reason is we don't want to waste people's money. Somebody has told the station is ready, but when you look at the photos, really, the forecourt is not paved. The station does not have a canopy. So why do I waste taxpayers' money to come and inspect from Kampala to Kabale when visually I can see the station is not ready? So that's why we require those photos. We can reach to the other. Of course, basically, once we have that application, we evaluate and we issue a completion certificate once you qualify. Now, the last license is the business one. You can move backwards. Now, the business license, as I told you, the business license, operating license, we are looking at basically those licenses. Importation, I've already explained that. Importation allows you to bring products from out of the country. From Kenya, we are picking products from Kenya, Tanzania, so it allows you to import products. Exportation, some companies export into Congo, to South Sudan. It's happened, so you need an export license. Pipeline transportation, which is very rare. You have not yet got a pipeline, but once it happens, you need a license. Surface transportation for trucks. We have a challenge of trucks. This one's a big non-compliance. We have old trucks on the road. They are causing accidents. So we are going to have an enforcement in this area. We are going to crop trucks transporting petroleum products without licenses. Then storage, that's for the case of depots. There are some people have installations at, for example, this hotel. There could be an installation for LPG. It's there. So we require to be having a license. So such installations which store products for own use also are required to have that license. Then the issues of retail distribution I've already talked about. If you have a station and you're retailing, you have to do that. You have to have a license. If you are doing bulk sales, that's wholesale, you also require to have a license. If you are doing processing, that's value addition. For example, if you are doing blending, mixing ethanol with the petrol, that's processing. If you are doing processing plants for greasing, people blend. You are doing blending here for grease, for lubricants. That's processing. You require a license. Now, what are the requirements for these licenses? You get a standard form still. It's also on that website I've given you. This is issued a company. The company should be registered. You have to give us particulars of the directors. URA clearance, I've told you. You have to give us a TIN number for a new company. Tax clearance for existing company. For foreign companies, you are required to have an investment license from Uganda Investment Authority. Then you have also to show us that you're going to maintain the 10 days stock by having access to the third-party depot if you don't have a depot. For a station, you already have shown us you have tanks underground, so that one is maintained under your tanks. But if you are an importer, a wholesaler, you are required to have access to a third-party depot if you don't have any. You have to show us the business plan, how you intend to do your business. And of course, if you are doing a facility, a station, you have to show us that you have done audits or environmental impact assessment. Environmental audits are usually done every year. So when you're renewing a license for operating license, we require you to have those audits filed. Of course, if it's a new site, you have to show us that the site has been issued with a completion certificate to confirm that it meets the standards. Next. Next. These additionals for a license. You have to also to show us that you have sufficient money to do the business by giving us a bank reference letter or bank statement. Nowadays, we require you to present passport photos for directors, for traceability. There are issues to do with smuggling in this business. You know, it's very juicy. So you can track, you can trace if there are issues of concern. For where it's criminal, the issues of criminality arise, so we can be able to trace you. So present your passport photos to us. We do inspection and do desk review, and then we produce a report. We do approve and disapprove. So once it's approved, there are fees applicable, which I'm going to show you for the various licenses. Now these are the fees applicable. Once the application is approved, we present you an assessment. That's a URA, Uganda Revenue Authority assessment. You pay URA. You don't pay to the commissioner. The money goes to URA. Now, for importation, we are charged 3 million. The license is valid for 10 years. For exportation, it's 1 million. These are in shillings. Then it's valid for 10 years. Then retail is 1 million per site. It's not it's 1 million per site. If you have 10 sites, you pay 10 million. It's valid for 5 years. Wholesale, we pay 1.5 million, valid for 5 million, valid for 5 years. Storage, 3 million, 10 years. Industrial consumer, that's what I talked about, the hotel having their own installations, buying and then consuming the product, they pay 500 for 10 years. Processing, this is value addition I talked about, 3 million divided for 15 years. For pipeline, it's 10 million divided for 25 years. Transportation by truck, per truck, you pay 1.5 million divided for 5 years. I've already explained to you the issues to do with the petroleum facility construction permit. 0.1% of the total project cost. Those are the charges. If the project is 500 million, you pay 500,000 shillings. Now that license for the permit is valid for 5 years. So you have to construct this, you have to put the site in place within the 5 years. Once the lapses, you have to reapply for the permit. Next. Now these are the challenges we are facing. Of course, the issues of understaffing. We are basically filling the unit. So you can imagine we are supposed to cover the entire country. So it's a lot of work involved, but we are trying to do it. Limited budget to support the activities under licensing. As I told you, we are generating money out of money, but we put it in a consolidated fund, and you know what you put there is not what you get back. So this money is used also to fund other governmental activities like health, education, and others. So there's issues of funding. If you apply ideally to send a team to inspect your site, don't blame us, but we are trying our best. The principle we are following is first come, first served. That's the principle. And usually cover a region every week, at least we confirm that. Then the other aspect is lack of awareness of licensing regime by stakeholders. Commissioner said we have done our best. I've been here this is my fourth time I'm here. So we have done our best. People are aware. People now are doing it because that's what they want to do. But everybody is aware of the process of licensing of petroleum outlets and business. Now the other issue is in the standards. We have done, my colleague has there done the same thing. We have been here together 4 times. So issues of ignorance of standards is not true. Everybody is aware of standards. Now it's ready to enforce the standards. Now also there's lack of collaborations with some stakeholders, some local governments, but not those who are here. Those ones who have not attended, the ones who are not collaborating with us. Next. I think that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dixon. And at this juncture, we shall have a presentation from Standards by Mr. Dean.
Good morning, everyone, once again. My name is Dean Tashovia, in charge of standards in the downstream at the Ministry of Energy. So we shall go through a little bit faster because time is not on our side on the issues of standards. You can move. What are standards? Some of you have been listening to this. If you look at the water in front of you, you can see on that bottle there is something like US something, where there is a mark of UNBS. Okay? That means that that water complies to that standard. So it is a document which has specifications on the limits of how that water should be, what is its composition, and how it is also processed. Okay? Those are the details in the standard. So in this case, if it is a standard for example, a petrol station, it will be describing how the station should be, okay? Even when you are building it, what materials are you using? What are the specifications of those materials, okay? That is how it can be easily described. And at the ministry, in the downstream, we look at the standards for the products. Let's say petrol, let's say gas. Some of you use gas, kerosene. Then for the equipment, let's say for the pumps and so on, and the trucks and the containers you use to store this. And then for the facilities, the station as a whole, okay? So you will find that some of those ones, you will have a station, but in the station, you will have some equipment there, and you will have the products there. So all of those have to be regulated and specified. If the tank for storing petrol or diesel is not specified, you will have problems with the tank. For example, Mr. Dixon has told you about the situation in Bushenyi, the previous one, of leaking, okay? If that tank is not constructed as per the standards, the limits in terms of the material composition of the structure, then you will have those problems. You will put it there, it will rust, and or it cannot withstand the pressures, then you will have that leakage into the environment, okay? And some of you, the station owners, I'm sure, I had an incident where they fired the manager. They thought he was stealing fuel, okay? But after so many years, they found that actually the tanks were leaking. Yes, it is a recent scenario. So you can see, before you fire your managers and so on, make sure, ask them, but are we complying? How are we doing with these other things? Okay? The standards can be national. That means that Uganda can have its standard. They can be regional. Now, like we are in East African community, we can implement regional standards, and they can be international. You agree at the international bodies. Okay, there are different bodies that are custodians of standards, and in Uganda, it is the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. So whatever we do in standardization, we do it in conjunction with Uganda National Bureau of Standards. Okay, so the planners, the environmental officers, the district engineers, and so on, please get the copies of those standards from UNBS. I'm sure they can be, of course they are charged. They also spend when we are developing them, but it's not a lot of money. Or you can even ask and they waiver the fees. It is around 30,000 or 35, okay? So you are one of the key stakeholders in implementing these standards. Continue. So whatever you see there is what we look at. We have products, the kerosene, the petrol, the diesel, and so on. Then we have the equipment, you have the facilities. All those ones are regulated. It's like the way you have put on today. You have a shirt, you have a coat, you have a tie, you have socks. All those ones have standards. If you don't know, consult UNBS. They will tell you. Yeah? Some of you just go to the market and buy a shirt. Okay, you don't know whether they are cheating you. Somebody says 100% cotton. Is it cotton? Or you are buying nylon? So those are the things you need to look at so that you are not cheated. Then on the other hand, the standards are supposed first to mitigate the risks to health, environment, and safety. Okay? Assuming that you are putting on a nylon shirt, okay, and you bought it as a cotton shirt, okay. Have you heard of the people suffering from eczema? Children, they say they are supposed to put on pure cotton. That's what they are supposed to. But you go to the market or the shop, and somebody sells you a nylon shirt, but written on 100%. You see how you bring risks to your child, to your health. So the same here. Somebody will sell you petrol, but does it meet the standards? Okay. Then the moment you put in your tank, the car starts signaling something different. Then you start complaining, going to the mechanic. The pressure is not building up, it's not accelerating, and such things. Okay. So when we are looking at standards, we take in mind all those kind of considerations. Okay, the technology and the equipment that is going to be used for. That one is on the risks. You see an LPG tank there. Some of you have these things in your house. Okay, you cooking using gas. That thing can explode. Okay, it has some limits of the working range. Okay, the tubes you use, even the plates you use. You may have the right tank, you may have the right tube, but you may have the wrong plate. When you fire, does it give you the right fire for you to cook? Okay, sometimes you may be blaming the gas, yet your problem is on the equipment which you are using. Okay, yeah, just simple like you have a kettle. The electricity is okay, the water is okay, but the type of kettle you have, the material it is made of, it is rusty, and you start complaining that. So these are the same things. Some of you, if you have washed your car tanks, you may have evidence that sometimes they are rusty, sometimes the fuel pumps jam because of the bad fuel you are taking, and so on. So the standards are there to mitigate all this. Continue. Continue. Then another thing is that standards are there to promote fair trade. Okay? Just assuming you have a one pump on a maram compound and so on, Okay, you are selling fuel at the same price with Total, which is just near here. You see how it is constructed? Somebody put in money to make sure he meets a certain standards and regulations governing this. But for you, you are cutting corners. What? Selling on the roadside pump, which doesn't meet anything. Okay, but at the same price. Do you see how you are cheating the market? So the standards make sure that there is a fair playground. If it is a national standard, it will make sure nationally everything is fair. If it is a regional standard, it makes sure regional there is fairness. If it is international, make sure internationally is fairness. When these standards are being developed, consultations is not only in Uganda, it is international. Why? Because trade knows no borders. Okay, somebody in Venezuela wants to trade because they are meeting a certain level of standards and their operations are at a certain level. Okay, but what you need to know is that when you have a website, let's say like UNBS website, okay, you should visit there because you are a stakeholder. Okay, you pay taxes which pay the employees of these organizations. Okay, so what they put out, you should also be interested. If you are a physical planner, check there. There are many things you will learn from there. At the ministry websites and so on, there are many things you will learn from there. And that information is for free. It is not paid for. Continue. So those are the different standards we have for petrol, diesel. Even we have for branded fuel. I'm sure you have learned that in Uganda we are going to start blending fuel. So if you have not heard about it, it's going to start. There are standards for that. For example, you can blend ethanol, kasese, with petrol, and it will be put in your car and the car will run normally. Okay? But also, I would like you to know the type of cars you drive. Isn't it? Some of you, have you ever seen a manual of the car? I don't know. Even the ones, the used one from Japan, when you check in their thing, there are manuals there. Yes, they will come. Even you search on the website, you will get a manual. If it is a Hilux 1997, whatever, you will get the manual. They are there. Yes, it's like you buying a TV. I know some of you have been using a TV for 20 years, isn't it? But when you buy a TV, you just switch on, plug here, and you think you know. No. Okay? Because you are updating phones, isn't it? The same system happens to these facilities, this equipment. They keep on changing things. So you need to be aware that things change. A good example is V-Power and the normal fuel. And the environmentalists and also the cow. I know you want taxes, okay? But don't risk somebody's future and somebody's life. Okay? That person whose life is affected would be a very important person to the community. Okay? Maybe you are killing somebody
presentation. We shall move fast so that in the interest of time. Edward, please.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kitimbo. Once again, good morning. I don't know whether it is morning or afternoon, but morning. I'm Ntungamo and Edward. I'm going to take you through compliance with the laws and standards in the downstream subsector. Next page, next slide. Those are the objectives, and the table is there. We'll go to the next one. The purpose of compliance, we'll go to the next slide. Compliance is what actually enables us to fulfill the laws and standards that have been elaborated by the previous presenters. Now, the main objective is to ensure that we comply with the regulatory framework, which includes the law, which is petroleum supply law, the petroleum supply regulations, general regulations, and standards, and that is at the entry. From the previous speakers, we heard that we have three levels of compliance of our industry. That is, we have the level of entry, where stakeholders or our investors come and enter that. Once you come in, the entry, operation, and exit. And the environment. We ensure that the environment is not affected by even at stage of entry, because when you are constructing, when you are digging and silting or covering, there is some level of environment destruction. So we also ensure that we are supposed to ensure that there is protection of environment and even the people who are around there. Then we also we are supposed to ensure that there is clean environment during those construction stages and operation, and even at exit stage. I would not want to go into the details of those ones because most of those are in standards. That's why standards are there. They tell you are supposed to follow this. When you are constructing, have your construction covered with either vibati or covered with whatever issues. Or if you are transporting maram, make sure it is covered. Those are some of the issues of standards. We go to the next stage. Next slide, rather. Enforcement at entry. Here, when we come to, before I go to that one, I want us at this stage to tell you that each one of us can be an enforcer and can be a developer. If you're a developer, then you should look at how we are going to enforce non-compliance. But if you are a stakeholder, then you are going to stakeholder in terms of giving licenses, in terms of awarding whatever licenses of construction, of operation, then you come in and become an enforcer. So at this stage, when we come to you, when we find that you are trying to do something, I participate at that stage. Then we ask you, do you have a permit, a petroleum construction permit, which Mr. Chiguri elaborated earlier? Do you have one? And we expect you, if you have one, to have put it in your office or somewhere. If you have a small office or whatever, wherever you are putting your construction materials, we expect to have it there. Then we want you to show it to us or to show it to the enforcing team. Show them that actually you are complying with the requirements at that stage. If you don't have it, then the law under Petroleum Supply Act, under Section 17, it will charge you with illegal construction. And each one of you, if you are interested in a person who is actually doing that illegal activity, you can take over that case and handle that case at any level in the courts. It does not have to be Edward from Ministry of Energy or Mr. Chiguri, who is in charge of licensing, or even Dean, who is in charge of standards. Any other person can take over the case and say, we are stopping you from operation because you don't have a permit from Ministry of Energy. And of course, a permit, the details from Mr. Chiguri, he gave us all the requirements. You have to have EIA, you have to have approved plans, you have to have ETC. So for us, we will not ask you for those. No, we will only ask you for a permit. Do you have a permit? So even you yourself, you can ask that developer, do you have a permit, please, from Ministry of Energy? If that person doesn't have it, then straight away, take him to court. Report a case, and then you can actually call us to come and assist you to prosecute such a person. So now, the reason why we are here, we don't want you to say Ministry of Energy has failed to enforce. No. You say we have failed to. Then we go to next one, constructing and operating an illegal petrol station. That's what I was talking about. We go to the next slide. During operations, we will not ask for a permit. We'll ask you, during operation, what it means, you have put up a station and you are dispensing products to the public or to the motorists. So when we come to you, we'll ask you, do you have a license to allow you to work or to authorize you to work? And we expect you to have displayed your license somewhere in your office. If you want, you can even display it on your door, such that when officers, when they are enforcing, or when they are monitoring, they don't need to disturb you by asking, do you have a license? Do you have this and this? If they come and see it, they will only greet you and say, thank you for complying. And they will proceed. So during operation, we ask you for a license. And a license is for purposes of ensure that health, safety, standards in actual sense, standards are complied with, or the laws are complied with. That's what we had previously. So the next thing, it promotes fair competition. If like Hajj, who has a license, you also come near, opposite, and you put a station, and you don't have a license, and you start operating and dispensing product. This man has fulfilled everything. He has all the standards. He has all the laws. He follows them precisely and religiously. Or Muslim kare. So what happens? It means if you are doing it, if you are not complying with it, it means you are actually making him disadvantageous in doing his business. So we'll come to you and say, we'll enforce on you, and enforcing, when we say enforcing, we mean either sealing or stopping you from operation. So we also eliminate other unfavorable business practices. There are so many. You've been in the industry. So, but once we are told, and in most cases, we rely on information from third parties. When the public reacts and says there is a problem, like when it reacted from Bushenyi in Ishaka municipality, there was an issue there. People started telling us stories that Bushenyi had discovered petroleum products. So we said, now, if the public is concerned that they have petroleum products, then we have to go and find out, because it was not us, because for us we are at the downstream level. Downstream level is marketing and operation. But the upstream also, we're in charge of exploring. They also went and found out. And when we found out, I happened to have participated. We found that it was fine paraffin. It was good. Actually, people started scooping it for use in their homes. So that one resulted from lack of standards that were able to protect the public. Because we found at the end, there was a school. That school was picking water from underground. So their water was contaminated. And even people downstream there, they had also been affected. So you can see how such illegal operations and can actually affect the public without actually knowing. You take these products, for you think you are taking water. At the end of the day, you hear there is cancer, there is what, and then people are suffering. And you don't know what they are suffering from. So those are some of the issues. And many managers actually lost jobs in that petrol station. I happen to have talked to the owner himself. He told me just many managers. So you can see Ugandans who lost income because of unfavorable business practices, of not constructing their tanks according to standards. Next slide, please. We also, during operations, we interact with fuel monitoring program. When they get issues which concerns like people having procured marker, which is only supposed to be the mandate of fuel marking, and we find it with some of the operators, then that one can cause us to come and enforce. We also happen to deal with people who tamper with seals. There are many issues. When the team from the program finds you not complying, normally they put a seal and they tell you to go and either pay a fine and make correction of that product, or they tell you to bring that product to the standard that is required. So, but if they put a seal and for you, you come and break it and you say, this part stopping my business, then it will also cause us to come and enforce on you. If you fail to pay fees, it also calls for enforcement to come and take action. Slide number 7. Slide 7. So other offenses, normally there are other issues from the ministry, like we are told by Mr. Chiguri that there is a requirement for minimum stock to give us their stocks. They're supposed to feed us with information. So if we find that you are not providing this information, if you fail to comply with it, it means actually we can open a criminal case on you. Policemen, I think we have had cases which we have reported in different places, and they keep on asking us now which law, which case. We have not heard about this one. The law is there, and it's the Petroleum Supply Act 2003, I think, as amended. Other violation of quantity. If you dispense less product, some people come complaining that he put in like some like 20K in his vehicle, and before he gets to Bushenyi or Kabohe from around here, the thing is stuck on the road. I don't know whether 20K can take you to Kabohe, but sometimes it's as a result of, because that person may have known that 20K is like 4 liters and it will take me to Kabohe. If 20 liters cannot even take him to halfway there, then there will have been a problem in the dispensing of that product. And then when we get it, we come and take action. Or we can even actually call on UNBS to come and do the calibration and see whether there is a problem or not. But that is after we have put all seals on your facility. Now, if you stop officers of the ministry from carrying out their work, it is also an offense. and it can lead you to being prosecuted in courts of laws. We have many cases we have prosecuted. I remember we had a case in Kampala which was involving like 6 petrol stations. And the prosecution took us like over a year, while that place was actually under the guard of policemen. We stopped them from operating for over a year. By the time that person started operating or reopened, business was not the same. It was not normal. So people should, operators should comply with requirements of officers. If we are told that there is smuggling, we'll take action. If you fail to comply repeatedly, then we can issue a default notice. And the default notice is actually, it's a process of taking you to court. It's just a diplomatic way of telling you, we are taking you on. But by telling you or by writing to you that actually you have not been complying, but if you fail to do it again, action will be taken. Next. Now we'll go to the last stage in the business. This is the exit. Exit means actually you have traded, you constructed a station, you carried out operation. Now you are fully satisfied that the operations either gave you your returns or they are not giving you anything, and now you have decided to exit the industry. Now, when you exit, you are supposed to tell us or tell the commissioner the intention to exit. When you tell the commissioner will actually advise you on how to do it. You don't just wake up and go and pull up your things and go. No. For petroleum industry, it's not the case. Even for people who are doing it at exploration stage, you are supposed to put your things correct, like how we see this ground. So equally, at the downstream level, we require you to come and we tell you and follow the standards. There are standards for it. So this means that you should remove people when they are moving or when they're exiting, they don't want to meet the cost of exit. And that would imply that you have to dig the tanks, remove them, and then replace maram, and then cover that place with grass like this one. But then people normally, or operators, what they do is they just pick their pumps, which are considered to be variable, and then they leave the rest. They leave those ditches, they leave the tanks. The tanks keep on, releasing fumes to the environment and to the people around, or even to whatever, or even to rain, and rain picks some whatever product and then takes it through water channels. So there is a problem. So we expect you to follow the proper procedures of exit from the industry. 10. So what are the sanctions or penalties? In operation, this one refers to operation. Number 1, we can revoke your license if you have been in operation and complying and you have a license. Then number 2, we can actually follow up cases in courts of laws. Do we have people from Masaka? I think Masaka is not here. We have a case which is in Masaka, and it is involving about 30 stations. And we are taking them in court. We appeared last week, and we're supposed to appear again in court next month. So we can take people to court, and we can take you on. And once the government takes you on, government does not have any pain, by the way. That's what I understand. If you want to hobnob with government in courts, you may end up injuring yourself financially. Then the last one is we serve appropriate warnings and reminders. we are lucky we have a monitoring team, which I head. We give, whenever we come to a station, we have a checklist. We tell you, you are not complying here on issues of standards. You don't have a license. You need to rework on your forecourt. The electricity wires are passing over you constructed above electricity wires and can cause whatever. So we tell you all those things. Once we tell you those, it serves to be an appropriate reminder to you to take action. Once you fail, then that's when the enforcement team comes in and takes action. Slide 11. Challenges. What are we facing? Even when we've been here, is this the first time or fifth? I think it is the first time. But we've been here regularly. Because as a program, they have been coming here. Yet as a department, we have also been coming here. And we've been telling you all this stuff. All this content has been given to you. You know what we want, but people or members, our brothers, Mwananchi, they don't like compliance. So they have been ignoring the requirement too. And in Mbarara, the most non-compliant road is this one, Isinjiro Road. So if you are from Isinjiro, we are giving you a hint. Why don't you take action? And then tell us, I'm going to give you my number. If you want, then I can guide you the charging section, then the penalties, I can send you the act, and then you take action, and then you call us to come and join you in courts. You get it? We can join you. But I know members, sometimes they fear. A number of facilities have continued the habit of adulteration of petroleum products, despite even having been warned or even having ever closed. They keep on doing it. What is the motivation? Motivation is getting additional coin. But then you are getting additional coin at the expense of the motorists' facilities, the vehicles. They knock engines, they lose a lot of stuff. So that is dangerous. There are operators, illegal ones actually, they are not analysis, illegal operators who even, you go there today, you tell him, please, my friend, why don't you follow? He says, now why are you harassing me? Don't you have other things to do? But that's our work, that's our mandate. So there are some people who fall in that category. There is also the public community, the public, which is us now. You see a person constructing on the side of the road, and then you keep on going to that person to get fuel. Why don't you reject and go to a better station? Why do you go for a poor place? Why do you go for like that side? This side I know it well. Actually, I know the whole of this side. The worst is this side. Kabare road is not bad. This side, Isinjiro Road is bad. So why don't you ignore them? Don't give them the business, and they will cross and go. So public, you are not helping us. You should help us. That's why we are telling you. Then we also look at people who dump used products. These are used products which come from stations. Lubricants, those which have been got from those vehicles. And then they just dump them anywhere. You have to have concern for the environment. Because if you put it here, you don't know who will consume it in water. It may be your cousin or your friend or your relative who will ask you for funds for treatment, for cancer, for whatever, when they are consumed from those water water sources. Next. Way forward. What should we do? So join us. First of all, join us and enforce. We've told you the laws, the entry requires everything. You know it now. Don't you know it? Who doesn't know what the entry requires? Then the standards we showed you, you got a standardized station, how it looks, you know it. Now enforcement, we have told you, you can use the law to do what? To enforce. Now, the operators should work for sustainability. Ensure that what you are doing is sustainable. They should also ensure zero approach to tolerance, zero tolerance to bad practices. You should not engage in adulteration. You should not engage in dumping of illegal products or of used oils. You should not engage in constructing. Now, actually, it's members of our public, the investors, when they construct a station and starts doing well, then they go and now plant a small thing. Because now they have known how the profits are coming out from such a facility. So desist from such practices. Thank you for your ears.
Thank you, Edward. We shall now move to the side of quality, and I'll have Mr. Ashi to give us how they begin the process of quality of products by marking at the border entrance.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ashi Young. I work with the SICPA. I'm head of fuel marking in SICPA, Uganda. I take care of all the marking activity that we do. We are, as SICPA, the approved or the appointed agent to do the marking of the fuel in Uganda. So we'll start. You can go to view and do full screen. That's okay. Now go to view and we'll do full screen. Excellent, good, thank you. Next slide, please. Who is SICPA? What is it? Where do we come from? So SICPA, we can go to the next one. SICPA is a private company. Our base is in Switzerland, in Lausanne. We are almost in every country in the world. The main product of SICPA is, we can say, ink and security features for currency. That is where the main business is, but with it, we do a lot of other activities that are helping government to assure the revenue, similar to what you see on the bottles, the stamping, and you see on alcohol the stickers, similar to revenue assurance. We do the fuel in Uganda. Next, please. The technology that we are using for the fuel marking is based on what we call the XRF. It's an X-ray machine that can detect the chemical that we use, the marker, in a very accurate way. It is very simple to use. We have a very simple software, okay? And it has been approved by all the, what we call automotive, yes, associations that can be used in the vehicles, and it doesn't harm the vehicles. It doesn't change the fuel. It just, it is there, and it will disappear once it is burnt with the fuel. The marker itself does not change anything in the fuel or the performance of the vehicle. So we are sure that when we mark the fuel, we are not damaging your car, we are not doing anything to your car. And that is very important because we don't want any liability, any problems with people's vehicles. Okay? During the test itself, we do not destroy the sample. When we test for the marker, fuel stations, I'm sure they are very aware of it. They give to make sure that the marker doesn't leak and doesn't reach the wrong places, and it is only used by us in the correct way. So we have this, as you see, the warehouse where it is safe, CCTV, access control, everything is there to secure this marker. Daily quality controls that we have. We are using the latest technology in equipment, as you see here. The same equipment can be used in the vehicles and in the laboratory itself. And we have occasionally also we do updates and upgrades to be able to give a better picture and a better performance for the equipment. So we use, as we said, the latest software, user-friendly, an interface where you don't need to be a computer science to be able to operate. It is just simple process that is there and very straightforward. It's a fast result. You will get the result maximum 5 minutes, and that will be a final result in the field. We don't require to take the sample later to the main lab to confirm the results. The results are there in the field, can be used as a final result. Real-time reporting, the vehicles itself that they move around, they are connected by the cellular, like the phones connected, so location and the results are being transmitted to a server where ministry and other agencies that are interested can see the reports immediately. Reports with ability and customize, we call it business intelligence that we are having, where you can see very clearly on a map where the test has been done, and if there is pass or fail, it is very easy to see these things. Just an example of the reports that can be done, you can see by locations, so you can see each locations, how many tests were done, and you can see that Kampala, as you see, there are much more tests that are done because of the intensity of stations, and also every month have many by station, by vehicle, by location, by region, district, everything can be, the reports can be done in different ways. SICPA, yes, have been supplied the fuel marking. Since 2008, we supplied it, and at 2012, we have started also to do the implementation. We also do the doping itself of the marker into the trucks. That started in 2012. We took it over from UNBS. Then in 2020, SICPA took over GFI as the operation. And since then, SICPA is doing the fuel marking. Head office is in Ntinda in Kampala. We have a field on the process of the marking of the truck to get the densities that will give a good idea about the quality of the fuel, if it has changed between the loading and the border. If someone has done something on the way, that can give an indication with the density. And also we do the dipping to be able to assure the volumes are the same ones that were declared, so no one is cheating too much. The calculation of the density and volume will be converted to 20 degrees. That is a standard that is being used in Uganda to be able to compare and see if the density has changed and the volume has changed. Then we prepare the marker according to what we found for each compartment. We do the marking itself, we dope the truck, and the driver, and we release the truck, and they can continue to where they are going. Quality control. At SICPA, we take the quality control in a very serious way. Any marker that goes out from the warehouse before it will go out, we test it for quality. We don't allow marker to get out of our warehouse without checking the quality. So we know that whatever was dispensed from the warehouse to our sites, different sites, we are sure about the quality. Even if the tank was tested 3-4 times already, every time before a batch goes out of the warehouse, it is tested. We do also quality tests on a what you call on a surprise base, where we can go to a site, collect samples, and check for the marker, for the authentication of it. We do also a quality test to see that the marker is still what we call calibrated with the equipment or with the fuel that is coming, that the fuel, there was a few times that mentioned here that maybe to blend the fuel. So if the fuel is changing, we also need to make sure that everything is calibrated and everything is aligned. We have dedicated supervisors at all sites to make sure that the work that we do, and they also do their own quality control with their teams. We have also cooperation with other agencies. Although the contract that we have is with Ministry of Energy, we have a cooperation with UNBS, where we check the densities, and we also put them on the SCUDA so they are able to see the actual densities in case something is become too much and the differences that the ministry or UNBS has allowed, we notify them and they take it from there. We also have a cooperation with URA, where we have all the system of URA to work with, and we compare between what is declared and what we have found. So URA is able to see if someone has brought in more than what he has declared and take action from there. Okay? Then, because, as I mentioned before, because we are on the SCUDA system, the forgery of documentation, it is impossible. They cannot bring a document that was already worked on. They cannot bring a forged document because it is not in the SCUDA system. Recent improvement, as you can see here, we have opened a new building in Malaba for a better service for our clients, for the agents. So there's a better shed, a better area for our employees, for the agents, to be able to give a better service and also a better look. Thank you very much.
Next, we shall have a presentation from the monitoring. As I introduced myself in the morning, those are my names, and I will take you through this presentation of what happens after SICPA has marked the product. How do we follow it up in terms of quality, following up the marker which they have put in the product as we follow up in the field. I'll give a brief introduction. Some of these areas, they have been already highlighted, so I'll go through very fast. I'll give a presentation on background, areas of cooperation, benefits, product malpractices, how we do the monitoring, the achievement we have had, and the challenges and the way forward. Next. Fuel marking is a government program that was designed to control the quality of fuel as it comes in through our border posts. All our products are coming from outside at the moment. So when they are imported, we monitor from the border throughout the supply chain to see that what is dispensed at the station meets the standard. The program is implemented, as you have heard in the beginning, with the cooperation between Ministry of Energy and Uganda National Bureau of Standards. In the areas of cooperation between these two institutions, we cooperate in terms of quality assurance and monitoring. We cooperate in laboratory operations. We cooperate in management of human resource and in the area of developing standards where those standards have not been. And then we work hand in hand with the SICPA, who is developing the marker by providing the detectors, maintenance of the detectors, and doing the calibrations of the detectors, which we use in the field. Next. What are the benefits of this program? The benefit is quality assurance and protection of the quality of the product up to the end user, because the end user may not be able to use his own eyes to ascertain the quality. But with the technology that has been brought in, we're able to protect the user by offering this quality assurance. The next benefit is that out of this checking, we control the malpractices, which may lead to unfair business. Because if somebody has adulterated, if somebody has dumped, he may sell his product at a lower price. Therefore, he's having an advantage to the others who are complying with the standard. So we make sure that we offer that fair competition by checking and controlling those malpractices. Then also, the benefit is that once the product is mixed up, adulterated product, we protect you, the consumers, from damages that may result out of those malpractices, where you can have engine damages, engine loss of power. So that's what the program is up to control the quality, to protect the engines of the people in the public. Then lastly, the benefits of this program is to make sure all the tax revenue from the products entering the country are corrected. Once we monitor, there are three areas we look at. We are looking at dumping. Our technology can help us to know who has dumped. Our technology can help us to know whether somebody has smuggled in the product. Our technology can help us to know those who have adulterated. So those are some of the benefits. And those are the malpractices which I've highlighted: adulteration, where there is a tendency and temptation of mixing kerosene into other products like diesel and petrol, which sell at a higher price than kerosene. This practice has been there where people want to make more profit, but such practices, that's why we are there. The other malpractice is smuggling, I've mentioned that. Dumping, those are products that are going to other countries, as my colleagues have mentioned. There are those going to Sudan, going to Congo, but sometimes which have not paid tax. Then they are diverted here. But through our monitoring, we are able to curb such malpractices. Now, during the monitoring and inspection, we have at the moment 8 mobile laboratories which move throughout the country in all the regions. Those who deal with fuel station, you know how we visit you every month. Every month we come, we take a sample, just as you see. Next. After taking a sample, we take it to our lab, the mobile lab, which Asha has mentioned. Next. It takes only 3, 4, 5 minutes. The equipment will be able to give us whether it is a fail or a pass. These equipment are very highly sensitive to detect all those malpractices, up to 99.9% sure of the quality of the product within a short period of time, 5 minutes. Now, this is to the oil marketing companies, the dealers who are here. We are here to sensitize and give you information. We are encouraging you to do self-monitoring of your product as you receive them from the outside the country, from the terminals or from the depots in Kampala. When they reach your station, we are here to encourage you to test for yourself to ascertain the quality. Because what we have discovered through this supply chain is that some of these malpractices occur during transportation. A truck leaves the depot in Kampala very well. Along the way in Ruera, somewhere in Masaka, they take off some product, they add in another product. Now for you bought a good quality product, but now you are sure what the driver is bringing is okay, yet he has tampered with the product and has sold off some of your product. So we are encouraging you to do self-monitoring by measuring the density upon arrival. Once you find those variances, for example, in diesel, once you find your variances is less by 0.02 milligrams per liter, you know that product has been tampered with. The variance of the density at loading and the variance of density at the density when you measure at loading and what they have put on the papers of delivery and what you are achieving at your site, if you find those variances, you know that driver has tampered with the product. For PMS, if you get anything higher than 0.015, you know that product has been tampered with. So we encourage you to put up systems to monitor yourself, because the drivers, the transporters may cause you problem and we close you, but yet it's not your own fault. Next. So when we find you non-compliant, immediately we receive the equipment in the vehicle, we print out the report, which you sign on, and we test in your presence. In fact, we pick the sample in your presence. You witness that we are picked from your pump. We test in your presence. You are witnessing all the process. And once it fails, that's what we put on. And you sign that I'm non-compliant. And then the rest follows. Now, at the moment, as we have been monitoring, by the close of last month, we had those number of retail stations in the country. We moved to all those every month. We have around 4,786 retail stations by December. And we have the capacity every month to cover almost over 80% of all those retail stations every month, in every town, in every region, using our mobile laboratories. We have subdivided the regions so that we reach out more. We assign these mobile lab for each region so that we reach out in every part of the region, in this country. So we have divided it in 8 divisions. We have the northern, we have eastern A, eastern B, we have western A, we have western B. This area, we call it southwestern A, southwestern B, the area of Mbarara up to Kasese, Kisoro, this region here where we are sensitizing you today. We have even been to other areas to sensitize people. Early this financial, we're in the eastern. To this quarter, we are here, and we shall move on to sensitize the public in terms of what we have done to maintain the quality of products so that the consumer is not affected by the bad products. Next. Now, since this financial year began June up to the close of December, this is how we have been performed. Remember the commissioner, as he was briefing us in the opening remark, he said we have managed to reach 99% compliance. There are those who are still trying to dodge around. You find like during the season of Christmas, the non-compliance went up almost to 0.9. You know, that's when there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of consumption, and there's a lot of hectic activity in terms of transportation and use of product. People want to make some profit for Christmas, but we are there to catch them. And we were able to catch them to that non-compliance level. Let's go on. When it comes to non-compliance in terms of regions, the performance in terms of regions, this is how we have been performing. Eastern, still, last quarter, when we were in the Eastern was scoring highest in non-compliant. And even this quarter, it's the highest. We had 38 non-compliant cases, around 32%. Western, that side of Hoima, Masindi, they are the next non-compliant people following the Eastern. Now, you are the third in this region, non-compliant as far as product. As Edward was mentioning, in single areas, those areas, we had 15 cases, that's around 13%. Central, where we expect many stations, because of our frequency there, you find that they are complying to a level of 13%. And Northern, they are the best in terms of quality, maybe because they have a few stations, but in terms of sustainability of quality, we have found out that the Northern region, in terms of maintaining quality, they take number 1. Next. Offenses, I will not discuss much about these ones. Edward has mentioned these offenses. If we find you with adulterated product, we seal you off. If we find you with the non-customized product that does not pay tax, we seal you. Next. He has mentioned about tampering of product, unauthorized marker. Next. Now, when we get you with the poor quality products, we have levels. The first time we penalize you, we seal you. If we come again, you have non-compliant. What do? We seal you up, you pay penalty, but then you get a warning from the commissioner. If you continue with the vice of being non-compliant, you are deliberately trying to sell smuggled product, or you are deliberately trying to sell a little product, he can suspend you for your operation for some month. And if you persist, then he can revoke. Those are the stages which we go through, which we have come to inform you. Next. So, as far as our monitoring of petroleum product, compliance, as I've mentioned, we are at 99.5% with non-compliance of 0.5. And coverage, we are over 78 among those adulteration we have in the country. Next. Achievements. We have continually trained our staff because, as you have heard from SICPA, they upgrade their software. So they have a schedule when they come and train our staff. We have maintained that one so that we can maintain the system when they have been upgraded in terms of software. The main laboratory has undertaken ISO 17025 recognition. We are continuing improving. When we began this program, we had a few vehicles. We are continuing adding on every now and then. I told you we have 9. And the other achievement we have achieved is this awareness. We have come to interact with the public directly. Since Monday, we have been in Ibanda, Ishaka, Rukungiri, interacting with the public, interacting with the oil dealers, so that we get close to know their challenges in terms of quality. My colleague will be presenting in terms of quantity, what we have discovered and what advice we have got. We have been on talk show, on radio, so that the public comes to know also their responsibility, what they are supposed to do when they go at the stations. So this awareness activity has enhanced confidence and in the whole system. Then timely issuing of results from our testing. Every month, when we have tested the whole country, we summarize our reports. Like for a given company, we give them all their performance in the different utility stations. Take for example, Vivo, all the country we summarize and we give them so that you know how they are dealing with, how their dealers are performing. We inform them this dealer of your company is misbehaving. So we summarize all those results and we issue them to the major companies. And that was being done timely. And all through our processes, we do them with the transparencies so that everybody witnesses all our operations and activities. Next. Benchmarking, Ishaka has mentioned about that one. Many countries have come to us to learn how we have been able to succeed in this fuel marking program to maintain the quality of fuel in the supply chain. We have had some challenges. What we have observed as we go into this, we monitor this business, is that sometimes some companies have not yet been licensed, and when we find them non-compliant, they sell off those locations because they know the other steps of procedure of non-compliance will catch up with them. So you find change of names, change of shift. Sometimes they change in order to dodge us because he knows the second time, the third time, the license will be withdrawn. So he sells it to another person. But I think going future, we are taking concern of those locations where they are non-compliant, and then they are shifting ownership in the due processes. Then there have been some accident mixing up of the tail dealers, but we have been able, upon delivery, but we have been able to help them mitigate such accidents when they happen at their stations, when they report themselves, when they have made such error. Now, in our monitoring, when we discover an non-compliant product, we are supposed to quantify its volume. Based on that volume is what we penalize. But we find some of those location stations, they have not complied with the standard of the facility. They don't have deep sticks. We cannot quantify how much they have in the tank. So we are here to appeal to the tail station owners to have their tanks calibrated and make sure the deep sticks are available so that they can be given to us anytime we come to the field. And my colleague Edward has mentioned about breaking of seals. This breaking of seal has been ongoing, but we are going to enforce it. We have an enforcement team. Apart from our monitoring team, we are going to work hard so that those who have been breaking our seals, we take them on according to the law. Way forward. The field marking and monitoring quality program has enabled us to monitor the quality of fuel very fast and apprehend culprits very fast who are selling bad product. Therefore, we have been able to enforce the standard of quality in this country very effectively, and we shall continue to that. As we move on, we are building capacity in terms of equipment, we are building capacity in terms of staff, human resource, so that we can catch up very much, because one of our way forward is that you find that these people who are doing malpractices, as we monitor, they also monitor us. They know this per coming. They pump out the product. Oh, they put the good one. They are gone. They put the bad ones. But we are learning all those tricks, and we shall continue to improve in all those areas so that we can maintain the standard. Increase of awareness, I've talked about that one. We need more cooperation during the testing and all the process of managing of quality with the managers of the station, so that we can serve our public with the quality product, so that they get value for money of the product they are obtaining from these stations, because they don't have the equipment and the capacity to know what they are getting. But we are there so that they get value for money. We encourage more cooperation with the LMCs. We work together where they need advice. The ministry is available from the presentation you have heard, so that we work together for the betterment of our country. If there is any information, as I wind up my presentation, if there is any challenge, you local leaders, retail station owners, all the stakeholders, concerning issues of fuel quality, even and quantity, we have a toll-free number. You call that one, 0800-133-133. We shall come and address those issues, because we have the capacity to reach you wherever you are. You can call direct the commissioner, you can call the supervisor or the head of the laboratory, and we shall come to address any issue with regard to quality of product being sold in the public. With that, I thank you so much for listening. We shall have our last presentation from Mr. Kapere, and then we shall take on a session of getting questions, suggestions from you, the stakeholders who are invited today for this awareness. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be talking about the area of quantification of fuel. But before we begin, I think we've been sitting for a while. Let me just request us to stand up. And as we stand up, we'll do something simple. Just look at your neighbor. Maybe you haven't identified their existence there. Okay, we can take our seats and begin. So I'm Boniface Kapere, Inspector of Weights and Measures at Uganda National Bureau of Standards. And I will be talking about the role of legal metrology in the fuel monitoring, in the monitoring of quality of fuel.
I'll begin by making this statement that we measure to be sure we know. When you stood up, you saw your neighbor. Was that neighbor tall or short? Aha. I hear both, tall, short. But you know, those can be very subjective. And because of that, we came, there were challenges in society in making this decision. Is ancient civilization is used to take something which they thought was common or stable for a long time, like the arm of a king, to say they have a measure of some sort. But as technology continued evolving, a whole field was put together, which is called metrology. That field of metrology, let's move on, is a science, the science of measurement. Is different from meteorology, which deals with the space and the climate. This one is metrology, the science of measurement. And we have three main areas in there. One is the scientific, which happens in the laboratory. Still UNBS deals in this, because that's where we understand that a certain quantity will tell us what exactly is there. The height of your neighbor is in meters, or derivatives of a meter, and that is a standard. It is a unit which can be referred to anywhere universally. And in scientific metrology, they realized that when we take that into industry, where again they are experts, and these experts know what to do to realize certain quantities that help them in their manufacturing processes, that becomes industrial metrology, which again the Bureau supports through another department, the National Metrology Laboratory. Our staff go to industries and help them in those areas to set up measurement systems in their manufacturing processes. But that leaves us with an area where there are people who do not know these quantities and how to derive them, how to arrive at them. And that is the same thing that applies to a petrol station, for instance. When you go, all you have in your mind is there is a liter of fuel that I will get, and for that, I will dispense money. Now, you do not know how that liter comes to be a liter, and how the machine works to be able to bring that meter to you. And because there is someone who is vulnerable, protection is needed. Therefore, there is the other field which we call legal metrology. It's established by law, and it provides for penalties to control that measure so that society is protected. And that is the area that I'm talking about this afternoon. Please move on. Now, the key objective is to protect society against consequences of false measurement. That when you measure wrongly, someone will pay more for less. Or if you measure too much, you will probably be paid less while you have given away a lot. So we stand in to protect society in that area. And typically, we emphasize the fact that there must be a fair trading platform when there is exchange of money, of goods for money's worth, or even in taxation. Move on. So the laws that we use to administer legal metrology in this country, we have CAP 327, which establishes the administration of legal metrology under the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. And then we have the Weights and Measures Act. Now, the Weights and Measures Act provides those requirements that should be controlled, what area should be controlled, what constitutes a legally controlled measure, are all established in the Weights and Measures Act, which is in the laws of Uganda is CAP 103. Please move on. Now we have subsidiary legislation, the Weights and Measures Dispensing Pumps, Bulk Meters and Bulk Measures Rules of 2007, with an amendment in 2011, which provides now the specific areas. And these are now applicable to this particular area. The role there is to ensure that those measurements are correct, and that the players in that area are not affected. We have heard of the gentleman who was sacking his managers, thinking there was a ghost. Those are measurement issues which also needed to be addressed. Probably if there was a correct measurement system in that place, they would have seen a trend of how that product actually vacates the tanks. Move on. So when we, what is our role in fuel marking? We are primarily interested in the equipment that do the measurement. Equipment like the fuel tankers, which bring in, you know it as a vessel that is transporting. But on there are quantities which must be established before SICPA, for instance, does the marking, which will support taxation. There must be a measure and a quantity that is established, which they base on to apply the marker. Now, that equipment, the requirement is that it should be approved. It must be of a type that has been approved for use here in this country. And then that equipment should also be periodically verified to make sure that what was approved, what was accepted as a correct measure, is the same one that is being maintained. So the integrity is sustained, and that is done periodically. Then we also do continuous monitoring through inspections to make sure that this good equipment, which we approved and also verified, is not misused in the field. Because we have had those instances where a pump has been verified, but then someone wants to break the seal, make an adjustment so that it gives a wrong measurement. We are able to see this through our monitoring exercises, the follow-up inspections, which we also call surprise inspections. We do not announce when we are coming to check on these measures. And that enables us to identify where there has been a departure from what is expected. And then the law is there also, which helps us to charge these people in courts of law. Fortunately, we have now a court which is dedicated to standards, the utilities, wildlife, and standards court. Please, next slide. So what do? We verify road tankers, like I have mentioned before, and that is done once a year. We have a calibration rig at the head office, but we also have some private rigs which are controlled. We have inspectors who do the verification while the calibration is happening in those places at different private installations. Then we also verify the railway wagons, because some fuel comes by rail. We also verify the static tanks. Now, the static tanks are verified because at delivery, the station owners prefer to use a measure that is in their control. Now, UNBS goes there to make sure that that measure which you are using, which is in your control, although it was not demanded, is now also verified, so that you do not end up transferring a shortage onto the person who is delivering the fuel. And that one, we give them 3 years. Then we verify the flow meters. The flow meters, bulk flow meters, which are used in the depots and aviation meters, including the services at airports, at the airport, and finally we also do the fuel dispensers at filling stations. These ones are now done twice a year. Because of their frequency of use, they need a faster verification frequency. We also monitor compliance of these equipment, especially at the border when fuel is coming in. At the instance that the marking will be done, we need to know that the measure that is going to be applied is what we verified. So we have staff who are positioned there to ensure that that is happening. Then, of course, we have the surprise inspections, which I mentioned, also being done. We license the calibration technicians, because these are machines. When they fail, they introduce those errors which is not wanted, which would result in in excesses or deficiencies in the measurements. So we must have someone of a certain characteristic with the competence and is accountable for their work. Therefore, we license technicians who do the repairs when those machines fail, and they only do it under the authority of the Bureau. And then we also listen to the public to receive the complaints and then do investigation and prosecute the offenders. What have we achieved in this? We have verified over 2,000 road tankers, and then railway wagons. Railway wagons are not many, but we've been able to verify the ones which are being used right now. And then the static tanks, we started recently, but we have already covered 207. And then the flow meters, we have done 562. And the fuel tank, the fuel dispensers, we have done over 23,000 dispensers. that accounts for every other station, every other pump that we are aware of. Then in the monitoring area, as of December, the compliance was standing at 94.5%. This compliance is a little undermined because of the new equipment which are deployed without first letting us know that that is coming. And at that point, we would want the operators, when you are going to engage a transporter, ensure that they have a calibration available. The challenges, there's that clause which has been around here, okutere empeho. We hear it very much. Now, it gives us the impression, it means they have supplied the air, is it? Now, it gives the impression that some of these pumps have air that goes into the tank. But that is not the truth. The fact is, when we do verification, we make sure that these pumps do not meter a mixture of fuel and air. In design, those pumps are supposed to eliminate air before even it gets to where the weighing equipment, the measuring equipment is, the metering unit. So, if it doesn't do so, then where does this okuterempeho come from? It comes from practices that play on the behavior of motorists. That when you reach the petrol station, there's a tendency for people to think now they have got time. Maybe you have been getting calls as you moved, and you thought when you get to a station, there is a trusted person there whom you can just tell how much to put in the tank, and later on you pay and go away. Now, many of them are honest, but there is a number of them who may not be honest. And these ones will look at your being unattentive and supply, maybe put your fuel in another receptor. Things like you are driving, but there is a motorist who is also arriving. And this motorist, there's a cyclist who is also arriving. You want 50,000 worth of fuel, but the cyclist wants 5,000. Now, all of you get served on the same pay. In essence, you get 45, the cyclist gets 5,000, but the person has got 5,050, and there we are. A 5,000 has been earned unfairly. So then the motorcyclists, they tend to take little fuel. And this is a problem. One, the machines which are installed out in the field, in the station is there, have a minimum delivery where accuracy is expected. And they are clearly rated like that. Usually, you'll have minimum delivery of 2 liters, and some instances even up to 5 liters. Now, you have a cyclist who is asking for 2,000 shillings. That's about less than half a liter. At that rate, you are instructing a machine to start and at the same time stop, and therefore that quantity may not be certain. The machine is not set to produce, to make a proper delivery. So there can be errors around there, and in the end, when someone gets less, they complain. It's a problem. We have been engaging in the field, and I think that should get emphasis. We ask you also to become our ambassadors in this area, because you know so you are empowered to make correct decisions. So then the other problem is around the managers of filling stations. Whenever they realize that their measurements are not matching, or sometimes when they have something to score, because not all people are honest. When they have something to balance, they usually transfer these problems to the transporters, which transporters have a measure that has been verified, but they are refusing to use that measure, preferring to use the one which is in their hand, but it's not verified. Now, these kind of complaints have become numerous, and our field people have been coming to do investigations up country to find out what the problem is, and we have been discovering those kind of challenges. A manager is saying this man brought 600 liters less, but basing on what? An unverified underground tank, and that is not right. Please move on. So the way forward, we are saying we are going to enhance these sensitizations so that our people get to know. When they are saying Vanterempeho, you should know that there is a responsibility. We have done our part. We verified the meter, the pump, and that pump can be known by the sticker that we apply there. Every time we do a verification, there is a seal which we place where the possible adjustment can be done, but you can't see it. However, outside it, we put a sticker for you to tell you that this one has been verified. And that sticker carries a date of verification and the date when the next verification should happen. So you are able to know whether that equipment can validly be used. And then you can now use our lines probably to give us the information that is needed so that we can respond to some of these things, the issues as they come by. And then finally, the verification of static tanks is something which we have started on, and we encourage every station owner who intends to use the static tank as their base equipment, please have that equipment submitted for verification. That submission, you just write to us, ask for a verification. We'll make an assessment of your request and then a fee, and you pay the fees which are associated, and then our team will come and have it verified on site. And then, of course, we will continue to streamline these consultative channels, identify the stakeholders, and let them reach out to us, even when you are buying new equipment, because approval is another thing people always want to avoid, but we would get to that. Okay? So thank you for listening.
With that, we come to the end of our presentation. On our program, we move on to the last stage, where we want to get feedback from you with regard to what you have achieved this day. If you have a question, if you have a suggestion, recommendation, clarification, it's time now to hear from you, and we shall give our response. But before we go into that, I want to announce somebody left his keys over the car at the registration table. If you are one of them who have lost your keys, you come and see me after this. Can we take on the questions? We shall take a batch, respond to them accordingly, and then we take on another batch. Let's begin from there. You mention your name, where you come from.
Kadjeja, Benon, Chairperson Mitoma. My issue is on approval plans. There are those who were approved some time back and those to be approved soon. As he invited me here, from the presentations, I'm sensing these facilities, the challenge is not with policymakers. I'm talking about a case in Mitoma. I've noted there is a facility which must be approved, must have a EIA, physical planning, land title. All those are just a mandate of the technical people. Therefore, your problem, as you came mainly technical people from the ministry, the other challenge is also technical people in local governments. They are the people who are causing the haymaking. Two, I have noted approval of these projects. Some of them work in a commutative property. The order may not matter, but the implications, where you find a fox first cleans itself before going for a wrong call. And then you try to ratify where things have gone wrong. And also it is the technical part. Lastly, Minister of Energy, I didn't understand UNBS and the Minister of Energy coming together here. When we are looking at UNBS on the side of quality, when we go to other issues like industry, where on the market there are many drinks, spirits, which market themselves that they have the power, money power, and even woman power. They own the market here. And some have that trademark. I don't know what is a trademark or what. That certification. Someone all of a sudden, in Mitoma, starts preparing such a things, and then there is a trademark, it goes on viral. You people in the BS, really, are you helping this country? Tell us whether there is power there. I can see some people here who are not very strong as I am strong here. They go and buy and help themselves. There is a problem. I remember members, chairpersons who are here. We asked it at the Mbarara Hotel. And the people of the Ministry of Health did not answer it. Then they said it is the issue of the DNA of National Drug Authority. Others say it is yours. Where should we fall? Because our people are having challenges with our lives. On the cost of doing business, while you are here, you are talking about quality. Minister of Energy, every day, even the president says there is sufficient power in this country. We go to a pump, all of a sudden there is no power. You spend time, by the time they put on a generator. In our houses, in the local government offices, there is no power. What is the problem? Outages are just too high. UMEME, UDCL, all those and Chilembe investments, those are business-oriented people. They want money. But why is the power not sufficient in this country? What is the problem? And when time comes, on the issue of education, on the issue of industry, let also UNBS prepare other meetings, and you come with those people, don't end with the energy alone. That is my submission.
Thank you. Let's take another one.
Yeah, thank you very much, the chair of the session. I'm called Basajawara Wajafar, the chairperson of Bushenyi. So first of all, I want to thank you for having organized this important workshop or meeting, and it has been long overdue. I know that government is solely responsible for legislation and at times regulatory, it does the regulatory part as part of its core functions. To me, on the issue of what you have presented is the issue of obtaining the EIA, the Environmental Impact Assessment, and normally that is a process. And when you are applying for one, I understand according to the procedure of obtaining it, you first get a meeting with the people where you are going to set that facility, let me say a petrol station, to tell the people the benefits and the effects that may cause either positive or negative. And in most cases, they don't do it. And at the end of the day, you find that most of those move from where they're going to set up petrol stations and go to you, I mean Minister of Energy and National Environmental Authority, and you issue those certificates. And we find us as local leaders very difficult for us to enforce or to make sure that we prevent those people who are operating or starting those petrol stations illegally when they had already been issued with those certificates. Secondly, with EIA, I understand however much that you get it, you are even supposed to have what they call environmental audit. And in most cases, it is annual, as stipulated under the NEMA Act. Do they do it? That is my question. Last but not least, on quality and quantity, because someone presented with what they call quality assurance, at times a consumer or a customer goes to a petrol station and that person gets fuel, either 10, 20 liters or 100, but in the course of his way or her way, he gets a problem with fuel. And that person is supposed to sue that person who has supplied him or her with maybe adulterated fuel. Where can you get the evidence to sue that person when in actual sense the contract was not formally done? Lastly, I understand Minister of Energy did a nationwide verification of all petrol stations that we have. Even in Bushenyi, I'm the chairperson of Bushenyi, you went there, you moved from point A to point Z and looked at how those petrol stations or filling stations are operating. Up now, I've been pressing my fiscal planner. Can you stand up for recognition? I've said, Mr. Albert, you moved with these people and you made recommendations. Where is the report? Should we say that it went to cabinet, we are waiting for it to come through parliament? Or is Sebo, you always give us final findings and we implement based on that? So I don't know whether it was meant for those in cabinet or we are supposed to have it. And even I have forgotten on the issue of environmental impact assessment. By the time, I don't know whether Mr. Okrut, by the time when we had Mr. Okrut as executive director, we used to have copies of the environmental impact assessment certificate, a copy of it, a copy to the chairperson, the executive office of the district. Why don't you give us copies? Yes? And even for you, energy, Minister of Energy, when you are constructing power lines, you don't conform to the standards, even you don't do the environmental. I don't know, you normally pass through us. we see you with pylons and poles. Are you supposed to also do the environmental impact assessment? The reason why I'm saying so, Mr. Chair, I don't know who's chairing this session, you've been having the other line, the Nkenda line, even powering Maram in the swamp, being guarded by UPDF. When they come to ask you for EIA, UPDF sitting as I said, we are shooting you. Yes. UPDF Namugambra. Police could not go there and see what is happening. And even most of those lines are guarded by UPDF. What should we do? Are we here to wine and dine? I rest my case.
Thank you. Let's have two more, then we shall respond and to those before we hand another batch of questions. Move the microphone here.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Baker, representing Kaurubiri's district. Now, the Physical Planning Act came into force in 2010. And there were some petrol stations or pumps which were established earlier than that. And so the town kept growing and growing and finds this small petrol station now in the middle of shops and all these houses. And when you tell them, you write and say, please, we want you to move your pump outside this because your petrol station is becoming an existential threat to the people living around it. And this one says, but the town found me here. I was here before this town council came into being. Now, why are you directing me to leave? Then the lawyers begin to threaten the institution that is enforcing this petrol station to leave. How do you deal with that situation?
Let's have him, and then we shall respond.
Thank you. I am Muhwezi Viani, Chairman Shema District. And at the same time, I'm a fuel dealer. Bwana Chairman, there is an issue we face as the fuel dealers of licensing. We are supposed to get licenses from the Ministry of Energy. But at the same time, the local government requires us to have the trading licenses. I want you to tell us what we should pay to the local government and what should, and we know that with the Ministry of Energy, that is the authority that is supposed to give us the operating licenses. Another thing is on quality assurance. We understand that the UNBS gives us assurance by marking all the fuel. But we have got some traders in the market who say that it's only Total and the Shell fuel that is good. Yet UNBS assures everything, all the fuel, they mark it. So I want you to tell people that all the fuel that is marked is good fuel. Not this rise of Total and Shell that they are the only ones selling good fuel. I beg to submit.
Thank you so much. Let's respond to those ones. Arthur, bring a microphone to my colleagues here so that we begin with, we respond before we take on another batch. Approval of plans before. There was one from Mitoma.
Thank you. The question from Chairperson Metoma District. It was not a question, or it was an observation, saying that the technical people, they have the problem they have for approval plans and locations of sites and so on is for the technical people, as we have technical people here. Probably my person or the person who presented on licensing, he explained it very well. And because I will explain this one plus the issue of Rubirizi. He said before we had physical planning, and now we have physical planning board, which is supervising the physical planning committee, and we have now the building board, which is also forming a building committee on the district. All those are technical people, but they must work with even the political leaders. So the political leaders on the district, they supervise the technical people. As the technical people also on the central government, they are supervised by the political leaders. So in my view, all the team, both technical and political, you must work together to have all the government programs well implemented. I think the main issue raised, which I'm going to pass it on to UNBS, is the issue of production. Production which is on the market. There are so many products on the market, which is saying may be posing danger to the human beings, and they have the labels of UNBS as approved to be on the market. I will hand it over to UNBS. He says there is products of manpower in the market and women power. He used both of them. Amanyi gech saja or namanyi gech kazi. And you want to be sure that they are really correct and they are performing what they are saying to be performing. The cost of doing business and electricity issue, as I said in the morning, today we are not discussing electricity. Energy is too big. It has mainly three different sections. We have petroleum, we have energy as electricity, and we have minerals. So today I said we are going to concentrate on petroleum. And petroleum mainly the one on diesel, petrol, kerosene, and jet A1. For the electricity and power being shortage, power shortage, and so on, we'll discuss it in another forum. Let me go to Bushenyi. Haj Jafar, you said obtaining EIAs. Now, the process of obtaining EIA, it starts with the person after identifying the product. You consult a consultant, a person to write an environmental impact report. And that person and the developer, the main practice is that you must consult the community where you are going to install the facility. And you explain the benefits of the project, both positive and negative. From there, the consultant will write a report together with the developer. The developer will submit the report to NEMA. NEMA is the sole body on environment. Now, the procedure or the practice or the regulation is that after they have prepared the report in consultation with the community and the surrounding areas and all the other stakeholders, they submit a report to NEMA. Then NEMA will route the reports, 3 areas mainly. They will route a report to the district. They will route a report to us who are also stakeholder in that petroleum business. Now, before they approve that report and issue out a certificate, the district must submit comments to NEMA to either in support of the project or they say the project is posing a danger to the community. Then and also us, we must look at the report, what we call citing. Are we comfortable with the citing of the report as a lead agency for NEMA? Then we also submit comments to NEMA. It is based on those comments that NEMA will approve the project and issue out the certificate. If any of those procedures are not followed, then there is a mistake somewhere. But that is the practice. On the issue of audit, the law is very clear. The environmental audit for any petroleum, for any hydrocarbon facility must do an environmental audit annually, every year, and submit it to NEMA, and you agree with what we call compliance agreement on how to improve on the identified areas. There is issue the facilities that were there before the town, and all these physical planning board and so on. Yes, you are there, but you must comply with the law. The best way to handle is to give them what we can call a grace period, because they are our people. You want them to transit from the old system to the new system. But the truth is they are operating illegally, not under the existing law. So when the law comes in place, you must transit from the old system to the new system. So please handle them and you make sure they transit to the current system. Shema, my client, of course, when you feel a dealer, you are my client. The licensing, the Petroleum Supplies Act is very clear. It appealed the trading license for the local government. For the petroleum products only, it is talking of petroleum products, not other products. Because on the petrol station, you have the forecourt, you have the supermarket, you have a restaurant, you have other facilities. The restaurant and the supermarket will pay the trading license. But the forecourt is not supposed to pay the trading license. I think I'm very clear on that. On the issue, the last issue, Peter, you talk about it.
Yes.
The one of marketing of Total and Shell. I hope I have answered you very well, my client. For the trading, for the forecourt, no trading license. The law is very clear. But for the other facilities which are not petroleum products, the local authorities will come and charge you. I thank you.
Yes, there was an area of getting EIA for power line. I think today we are not talking about power lines.
I have made it clear that we are only on petroleum
Project.
not power lines.
Thank you. Now, in terms of quality, there was some questions, suggestions raised. Like, for example, if one takes product and if he has a problem with the vehicle of having taken bad product, evidence, and how do we go about as we who are supposed to enforce? Now, what happens is that, and that's why we are here to inform you. If somebody, that's what we have been informing the public, takes a product and his vehicle breaks down and he suspects that it has been out of adulterated product, I've given you our toll-free number. We have these mobile labs all over the country. When you call those toll-free numbers or my number, I will be able to send a mobile lab which is in that region to take samples as evidence from that particular location and also from the tank of the vehicle, so that we can analyze comprehensively to find out the root cause of what has happened. You know, previous people have not been knowing whom do I go to immediately when I have this challenge. But we are here to enforce with this sensitization that there is a bridge we have shortened the gap between us and the stakeholders so that we can be able to help them when they have such challenges. There was a concern of where, this concern is traditional, where the public has taken note that it's only this company which sells good quality product, only this big man, only this one. That one is a common thing people have taken in their mind. But I'm here to inform you that when these products come into the country, in fact, when, as the commissioner was saying, they are imported in bulk as a single vessel. They are pumped from Mombasa to the terminals. All the companies, mention them, small, big, young, old, they pick from the same terminal, they pick the same product. When it has been assessed, its quality. They come at the border, they assess again the quality. For us, we move through the supply chain, we assess the quality. As long as they are meeting all the fuel is the same. The only difference is with some companies, because of increased science, innovations and technology, they add in additives. It's a marketing tool. But whether I take one with additive or without, as long as it has met the Uganda standard, it will perform its function in the vehicle, whether it's from a small company or a big company. But you know, because of advertisement and marketing, somebody may say, I've put a lot of this in this, is good, what, but all fuel is the same, it's coming from the same pipeline. It is meeting the quality of the standard that has been put in place. I want to assure you, and we shall continue assuring the public, because they have those conceptions. But you know, it's a customer choice. You can choose to eat in Sheraton a plate of 50,000. You can choose to eat in Mbarara a plate of 10,000. It is a personal choice. So it's up to them to make their choices. But we have to inform you that the quality, even those small stations, they meet the standards as long as we have monitored them and they are performing. I hope I have not left out anything. The Assistant Commissioner has mentioned there was an issue of drinks too, but we are not talking about drinks with a quality mark, but maybe the ED can highlight on that issue where we have. There was a concern of.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kitimbo. Yes. My name is Engineer John Pomsimami, Deputy ED in charge of compliance. There is the issue of drinks, spirits that are indicating that amanyige kisajja, amanyige kikazi, etc. This issue, and they have a quality mark. Now, this issue came up, I remember, sometime back in Parliament, and the two agencies were called to the Trade Committee. That is Uganda National Bureau of Standards and the National Drug Authority. And indeed, we realized that there are some of the companies that had misused our quality mark because they had not previously indicated that actually one of the ingredients of their drinks is medicinal in nature. So they were having our certification mark because they would use it for selling, and so they had medicinal claims. We did agree that all those companies that have medicinal claims, they should not be certified by UNBS, but instead, if they have medicinal claims, they should be looked at by National Drug Authority, because now that one is not our mandate. So as of now, there is no certification of such companies. If you have Murondo in your drink and you clearly indicate it, then you shouldn't be having our CHU mark. It should be National Drug Authority. So in case you get such, we would urge the local government or police or whoever, you can always report such cases so that we can have this smoked out of the market, because we would not be sure. But we did notify all those companies that had their drinks which had previously been certified without the medicinal claims, having to do it right, so that if you want to have those medicinal claims and you want to advertise, go to National Drug Authority. I think that clears there. But it used to be there, but we resolved it. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Pero Vyokunda, Head of Quality Assurance, Minister of Energy. I wanted to add on what Peter told you on issues of the popularization of Shell, Vivo, Autotar fuel. Our commissioner told you all of this fuel comes as one batch, one ship. What happens is, according to East African harmonized standards for petrol and diesel 177 and 158 of 2012, addition of additives is allowed. It is not restricted or prohibited. Addition of and additives are materials or substances that enhance certain properties or characteristics of fuel or suppress undesirable ones. And what are undesirable ones? Like caking of fuel. Like if fuel has stayed longer for storage, there is a tendency to form waxes. Now you'll find anti-wax formers, oxidation enhancers. When fuel is being burnt in fuel in the combustion chamber, to improve conversion, some people add octane enhancers. So, once a company does that, you have heard of Exerium in Total, you have heard of Dynaflex in the Shell. Then they add some more money. You will find even this enhanced fuel is higher in price than our normal one. But the normal fuel, because once fuel enters this region, East Africa, it is the same quality. It is tested and confirmed. All necessary characteristics, that parameters which we want, maybe octane number, motor octane number, research octane number, distillation or volatility characteristics, density, all these are okay. But a person enhances his product to suit his brand. So it is an issue of branding and marketing. And I hope it is clear. So nobody should tell you Total, Shell. Even I think Rubis has also done some enhancement. Oryx is in the process of doing the same. This is an issue of marketing which has nothing to do with the basic parameters, basic properties, and basic characteristics of fuel. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let's get another batch of questions. There are hands there. Arthur, take your hand, the mic to. Information is power. We are here to.
Thank you so much, our facilitators. I want to thank you for really organizing this fuel consumer sensitization meeting. I'm called Muhindi Faz, District Chairperson Kasese. I appreciate the answers we have got, but I still have a challenge when it comes to quantity. You find somebody goes to fueling station 1, and when you are given fuel and possibly you put it in a container, which is standard, like a half liter of this. You've seen on the pump, they have indicated a half liter, but will not reach where a half liter ends. And you go to another fueling station, it goes up to that level. Even when you have seen what brings that variation. That's question number 1. 2, we've all appreciated that fueling stations needed to be cited and gazetted and put in places where it's not residential. What about in a situation where people selling fuel using containers, bottles, jerrycans? What is the way forward for the ministry in addressing this challenge? And it is common in most trading centers and even some town councils where there are no fueling stations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm called Mwesi Joseph, Senior Environment Officer, Mbarara. My comment is about coordination. we as local governments, we believe coordination is still low. We need to enhance coordination between local governments and the center. Secondly, I heard the commissioner saying the local government should do A, B, C, D. But some of these activities have not been decentralized to local governments. And once you decentralize some activities, you have again to attach a budget. But you tell us to go and do A, B, C, D, which is not always our mandate as local governments. So I request that let there be a plan to decentralize some of the activities in energy so that the local government can also play a big role and be answerable. Because now, for instance, on EIA, one of the presenters showed us a list of requirements. But the first requirement on his list, which I think the operators will always follow, is to go to the ministry or on the website and get forms, to fill forms. Once the operator has gotten land, for instance, and has gotten that mind of starting up that project. But in essence, the most important or the critical thing that should be done by the operator or by the developer should first of all to begin with the environmental impact assessment. That is the cornerstone. To begin with, even before you even acquire land, you should first invite the practitioners to help you identify whether that land is ideal for a petrol station. But our operators will go direct to the ministry, begin filling forms, and other lead agencies will even issue certificates. Because environmental impact assessment sometimes is expensive. And these operators or developers tend to ignore. But the other agencies will again give certificates. So finally, going forward, I request that we should have some activities given to us. And we give the reports. And we do the enforcement. Because if you say you are going to get forms from center, and when a local government is here, the construction forms, permits, the operational permit, you have to go to the center. So I request that let some of the activities be decentralized and also attach a budget for it. Because local governments, like environment or natural resources, the funding is very minimal. We may not even know the petrol stations we have in our districts, the inventory. Because we know it is the mandate of the ministry. I thank you.
Let's have two more before we respond to them. One here, and then the other one. Let's have him.
Thank you. I'm Henry Tumesicheka Mutoro, and for the purposes of clarification, maybe for my colleague from the ministry, I would say I'm the head of natural resources in a Kabale district government. In my district, there is a municipality, and most of the petrol or fuel stations are in the municipality. But I didn't see them represented here, like the town clerks of the municipalities and some of the people concerned with environment and physical planning. So what happens is, you say, one of the presenters said we are all enforcers, and the municipality being autonomous from the operations of the district as a separate entity. Sometimes when we see some of these things going wrong and you want to try and enforce, you find you don't have in most cases, the legal mandate. One, I'm suggesting that the officials from the Ministry of Energy, when they are doing their compliance and monitoring, let us also be brought on board, since they have said we are also enforcers, so that we follow. Maybe we are also officially introduced to these entities. Then secondly, there is an issue of abandoned petrol stations. If a petrol station is abandoned, For how long should it stay there? Can we write to them and tell them to restore the abandoned site for the issues of the spillings and environmental contamination, since those wastes are not taken care of by the owners who have maybe abandoned the business? Then another issue is following the licensing protocol. Someone puts up a petrol station. After putting it, when you go there to monitor, that's when they start the process of getting an EIA, getting a license from the ministry, and these things are given. So why shouldn't we follow the real protocol of the process so that everything, the checks and balances are taken care of? And most especially NEMA. Whenever there is a challenge in terms of if you've asked for a social and environmental impact assessment, now that's when they wake up and they start processing. When the fuel station is already in place, and after a month or two, you see someone coming up with the approval, yet something is already at the site. So we need collaboration between the ministry and the regulatory agency, which is NEMA. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let's have one there, and we respond to that.
Patrick Atuyatunga, once again, Natural Resources, Shema. I have only two issues. Number one is about the location of these petrol stations. Do we have a minimum distance from one station to another? I see it as something that can be a hazard in case of like a fire outbreak if they are so much closed. Just like churches, when you find that a church is near to another, there are issues of like noise, and when others are praying, they cannot do it. So I'm asking, are there minimum distance from one petrol station to another? Then secondly, holding of fuel. Are there measures, the ministry, that are in place that can prevent hoarding of fuel, which can also result into price increases? Thank you.
I think let's take a last one from here, and then we respond to that one, and I'll invite the ED to bring this meeting to a close. Let's have this one last. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Lucky Julius, the Senior Physical Planner, Mbarara District. My concern is on hierarchy and the grades of the fuel stations. I participated in the development of the regulations for fuel stations in Uganda, but we generally accepted that the minimum standard is 100 by 100, which is 30 by 30 meters plot requirement. In Mbarara, specifically Kashari, where Mbarara district now is, I have about 96 trading centers, and I have 21 what we call fuel pumps. You know, a fuel pump, we have a petrol station, then we have these mini ones. Now we have these ones in our trading centers, what we call the LC1 trading centers. So my concern is about whether the ministry is concerned about the hierarchy and the grades of these fuel stations. Thank you so much.
Let's respond to those ones. Let's respond to, we have quantity verification. I think, Mr. Kapera, you respond this one, but let's have the commissioner respond to his, and then you will get a microphone in terms of quantity measured in a mineral water bottle, half a liter, that kind of measurement being used by some people in the field.
That one Kapere will answer. I will start with the last person here. Before holding, my neighbor here, it is a good practice to start with your neighbor. The LC1 pumps, they are actually call them single pumps. They are extremely, all of them, they are illegal. They are illegal and they should not be operating. They should not be operating at all. Because the standard is first of all, they are not licensed. They just come, the following day, they put a pump there, they start selling. Although they are providing a service, but they are illegal. Very, very illegal. And me, I have no kind of words for them. Because the standard is very clear, the law is very clear, and we cannot say that there is this one which is in this LC1, and is not meeting the standard. That one is illegal and unfair. Holding, Shema, I'm going to Shema now. Holding, I don't think there is any person who's holding. If you know any of them, please inform us. I'm sure holding is a long time ago practice, long time ago, before we opened up the market. You hold for what? You are holding, the other person is selling. The price, you don't know whether it is up or down. Why do you hold? You sell whatever you have. But if you have identified anyone and you are sure he is holding, please let us know. The issue of the distance from one station to another, I think that issue, we had it in stakeholders discussion for a long time. We had a 1 kilometer requirement like 10 years back, but the stakeholders urged and said, no, we need to review this standard. There is no need of having a requirement from one side, from one station to another. And the issue is, if the petrol stations are near each other, the benefit is more than when you restrict them from their locations because of the competition. And the tool we have, we as a regulator, as the Ministry of Energy, the tool we have to make sure that prices are extremely down is competition. And the issue of competition is that if a station is next to each other, they will try to bring the prices extremely down compared to a station which is isolated. You try to observe like share stations, say in Kampala or here in Mbarara, where a share station is in one place. For example, I will give a share station that one will try to look at it. Share Grand Imperial. Share Grand Imperial will have all the prices high compared to all other shares in Kampala. Why? It is in one place alone like this. Now, the issue of safety that everybody fears, it is catered for by the industrial practice. What do I mean? All the fuel is kept underground. And in the last 20 years I have been in the industry, I've never heard of any petrol station which have caught fire. And I like buildings. Why? The industrial practice is the fuel is underground, is kept underground. It is only the small spillages that are in the pipeline. So the chances of the petrol station getting fire is very minimal compared with other facilities. I think I have answered that on the issue of location. As long as the station is meeting a standard, it is 100 by 100, another station is 100 by 100, me, I have no problem. Put a station, rather than somebody putting a station here, another one is putting a hotel here. Both stations have the same standards and they all want safety issues. They will help each other on safety issues. In fact, in the industry, they can compete on other things. But the issue of safety, they will join efforts to make sure that all their facilities and businesses are safe. Thank you. The Kabare issues that he has raised, my colleague here from Kabare, all the issues you have raised, really, we noted them, and we will try as much as possible to work with you. The coordination between the central government and local government. I believe, for example, if we have issues with, if we have, I know on every district we have environmental officers. And all these EIA, they are routed to the district, and we believe they are all handled by environmental officers. And where we are not coordinated, really we are going to try as much as possible to see that we are all coordinated. But on the issue of EIA here, we are all coordinated by NEMA. Because NEMA is the one that issues reports to us, and they also issue reports to the local authorities. But there is a focal person for this particular assignment. Who is the district environment office? How many district environment officers do we have here? There are many. So all the reports go there, and they have all the EIA reports and audits at the district level. If we are not well coordinated, we are going to try as much as possible to see how better we can improve. Lastly, the issue of bottles and jerrycans. It is also illegal. In black and white, it is also illegal to trade in bottles and jerrycans. They should be stopped. Lastly, Kapere, tell us the measurement issue.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Kapere has requested me to help him. My name is Kitimbo, and I'm also an inspector of weights and measures. Over the issue of bottles, I just want to remind you that bottles are not standard measures. Actually, when they bottle any product in this, you'll find a bottle with the 320 mils, and the same bottle can take 330 mils, and so on. Same bottle. So I request that you desist from using standards, which I mean containers which are not standard measures. Now, when we come to the real problem, he said you get a quantity at one station and go to, probably it is full, you go to another and you don't get exactly the same quantity. The explanation for that could be one of the following. We cannot really ascertain what the problem was, but it could be one of the following. Number one, the volume he has talked about is 500 mils. And you remember Mr. Kapere said we have what we call minimum deliveries. When you go to, weighing scales. If you get a weighing scale that weighs meat, and you want it to weigh 200 milligrams of meat, I mean, you will add that weight if you can afford to get it, and you will not register any significant weight on the other side. That means each equipment has those limits. If you start with most of these dispensing pumps, their minimum delivery that is provided by the manufacturers starts from 2 liters to 5 liters. So anything less, like 500 mils, cannot be, the accuracy cannot be ascertained. The accuracy cannot be ascertained. So whereas probably one equipment, one pump got it higher and another one got it lower, we can still not be sure of the measurement because it was very low. But even if we went to 100 liters, still it would be a miracle to find them, both measurements, exact. It would be a miracle. Why? Even when we are testing these pumps, there is what we call a maximum permissible error. So, maximum permissible error will allow if that measurement is within the law. And this is statutory, you just cannot change it. So, whereas one can have an excess of 20 mils, if another one is less by 10 mils, we say they are all permissible errors. And we say they are fit for use for trade. So even at 100 mils, still you will have some small difference. It's very possible. So my friend, Mr. Muhindo, I just request that you don't use small measurements because the minimum delivery is 5 liters. Thank you.
Thank you for that response. Lastly, I have some remarks and questions here, where one member is from SIME saying, we need sensitization of these outlets. That's what we have been doing, and we shall continue sensitizing not only the local leaders and dealers, but also not only and the public, but also the outlet owners, so that they come to know their role and responsibility and put up stations, put up services that are up to standard. He also mentioned that if the audits are not done, what happens to the industry? The commissioner has told this, the commissioner told you, every year these must be done. So those are not complying to the law by not doing those audits. It's by law that every year, every person must have a report on audit of that facility. There may be some other environment issue which may come along, and that audit must be in place to address them, and also to look at the mitigation measures that has taken place since its operation. So those are by law. Finally, he mentioned that municipalities are always left out in this participatory planning and dissemination. When we sent our letters, we made sure we sent all the districts in this region, and we identified all the officers, but it's unfortunate that some of them have not honored the participation to come here, but we shall continue even to reach out in other forums for them to be involved in, so that we can have our outlets operating at standard, have the planning of people doing their role in all levels, whether municipality or town councils or at the district level. And at this juncture, I would want to bring this session to a close by inviting the ED to give his closing remark. I want to thank you all for your attention, for your calmness, and for your participation in this discussion. Thank you so much, ED.
Thank you so much, MC. Our dear stakeholders from the political side, that is the local leaders from different districts of this region, our dear clients, the oil dealers, and also marketing companies for the oil companies, our service providers, SIGIPA, we are happy you are here as a facilitator. Something special about SIGIPA is that we're increasingly working together. He alluded to the fact that they're doing DTS and DCM with us. So we acknowledge and appreciate your support in providing technology. From the ministry, that is commissioners, thank you so much. I wish to thank all of you, stakeholders, for coming and participating and giving feedback, responses that have fulfilled the objective of this meeting. This meeting was meant to make you aware, so that, in my own interpretation, you are not cheated or you don't cheat. We believe that with this awareness, you are all knowledgeable, because we know in one or another, if you cheat, you'll also be affected. Our desire as regulators was to move to zero tolerance to non-conformity in fuel industry. And this can be only achieved if everybody is brought on board through information sharing with stakeholders, and also looking at issues that may hamper compliance. Uganda National Bureau of Standards were responsible for development, promotion, and enforcement of standards. And by doing this, we bring on board different stakeholders. And in this area of fuel, we've identified our colleagues, our seniors from Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, to ensure that this is done to help you understand. And as you are aware, this exercise has covered this region, and we believe you'll comply and don't compete with the Easterners. I happen to come from Eastern Uganda, an area that is #1 in non-compliance. So today, I've identified the #2. If you looked at the statistics from the monitoring schedule, you are trying to outcompete Easterners in non-compliance. So my prayer is that with this kind of education and the awareness, you'll shift downwards and don't shift upwards. I would like to encourage the fuel dealers, therefore, to be ethical and upright in the delivery of services they offer to the public, and do self-regulation in respect to quality and quantity, because, like I said, everyone, including oil companies and institutions, you are a consumer in one way or another. You don't know where this oil will end up and how you'll be affected. And I'm happy about this meeting, or this interaction. This is where business meets the law. And we've been supplied with a lot of information in simple terms. We have been given requirements in terms of law and standards of what you need at the time of entry, at the time of operation, when you're in business, during the business, and also at the time of exit. So I would encourage you to be as compliant and ethical as much as possible, so that you have a good experience while doing business, or at the time of beginning and exit. This, therefore, brings out the issue of self-regulation. Like I've said, we got a good example that you have got good oil at the time of import, but maybe during transit, you'd have challenges. This means you develop control systems and mechanisms that will help you achieve the objectives and mitigate some of these risks that have been alluded to. It is our desire that we reach 100% coverage. You saw the statistics indicating 78%, and we indicated that we have about 4,786 outlets. So this gap can only be addressed through self-regulation. And if there is a message from me, is about self-regulation by the field dwellers. And local leaders, you play a critical role in trying to stand with us in strengthening the synergies and making information flow and reach to the enforcement agencies in order for us to fulfill our mandate. We want to say we promise our cooperation and support as much as possible to see that we work together. I would love to say that there's a need to address our safety issue of good quality for the sake of our health, safety, and environment concerns. This has come out very clearly. We have been guided. On the issue of quantity, I would like to inform the stakeholders that UNBS is doing all it can that the public is not cheated and rather get the right measurements for whatever you pay. That is value for money, and our team members were here to explain and show you all that it goes with the issue of quantity. I would like to say that finally, we promise to bring you this, we promise, as it has been indicated in different communication, that this kind of engagements shall not stop at regional level. We want to see them go up to the district level and make sure that we sensitize everybody and everybody within their communities come on board. My prayer is that we cooperate, as I said, and utilize this information as much as possible. This part of standards promotion, like I said, we have all the tools to develop the standards, but to enforce them, we need to create awareness. And also I want to emphasize that we have all the tools, like it was indicated earlier, to enforce the standards. So we don't want you to be caught in the wrong side of the law. You learned during Mr. Kitimbo's presentation that there's even a court, standards and utilities court, and other elements of the law can help us to enforce. So my prayer is that let's be educated and also utilize this knowledge for you to thrive in the business in a competitive and safe way. In view of the above, I would like to thank the organizers, that is our team members from the Ministry of Energy, as well as team from Uganda National Bureau of Standards, specifically the program for organizing this workshop for such a good interaction. I therefore declare the meeting closed for God and my country.
For administrative measures, this.
If the government of Uganda cares about your health and the health of your fuel business or the health of your automobiles, wonder no more. The FMP program is testament to this fact. The government of Uganda, through the Fuel Marking and Quality Monitoring Program, is controlling and monitoring the quality of petroleum products in the entire supply chain in Uganda. The FMP program, which is guided by the Fuel Marking Regulations 2009, is implemented under a cooperative arrangement between the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development and the Uganda National Bureau of Standards in collaboration with oil marketing companies to offer you consumer quality assurance and protection, to monitor the quality of imported products, and to provide linkages with other downstream petroleum activities like development petroleum standards, and to provide linkages with other downstream petroleum activities like calibration and bulk measures, among others.
When these trucks bring in fuel, we do random sampling. Under circumstances where we find a product is not meeting the required standards, we are advised to seize the trucks, because when a product is substandard, it must be brought to standard.
Once the fuel truck enters the yard, it has to make sure that it's in the dipping slab. A dipping slab is a leveled place where we can dip the fuel clearly. And they bring the papers to our offices, to our site supervisor.
I received this paper from the supervisor, who allocates by writing my name, the truck which is on the slab. Then after receiving, I got the slab. I confirm if the paper is for the right truck which is there.
From there, the supervisors make sure that the physical papers handed over to him matches the truck that is in the dipping slab. After that, once everything is okay, he signs the truck to the next available marking technician, who then goes on top of the truck to check for fuel dips, densities, temperatures, for us to be able to ascertain exactly the amount of fuel that is in each compartment and the exact fuel type that the driver is coming, vis-a-vis what the papers declare. Then he hands over this document together with all other documents, which are the calibration chart, the bill of lading, and the exit note, to the customer service dispatcher. This is the point whereby the customer service dispatcher enters this information into the Asikuda system.
Today we are looking at how we monitor the quality of fuel at various stations. We have a mobile unit, a mobile laboratory, where we prepare these samples and put in the machine to run. We picked a sample of diesel from a pump that was serving. We prepared the sample in the sample cell. We put it in the sample chamber of the machine and commanded the machine to start testing. The testing takes 3 minutes. So after 3 minutes, it gave us the result, and the result was pass. We picked a sample of diesel and mixed it with 50% paraffin, and the result failed by 46%. This process of monitoring begins from the border. When the fuel destined for Uganda reaches the border, we check its quality compared to the loading documents. When we reach a petrol station and we find the concentration of the marker which was applied at the border has changed, has reduced, then we seal off your premises, your pumps. We stop you from sealing. The aim of this exercise is to ensure that customers buy fuel which is of good quality.
Ensure that the product which are put in the vehicles of the public meet the standard. We are able to achieve a compliance of 99.3% compared to when the product. So the main things are quality assurance, with respect to the standard, and also to ensure that all the companies, the product they are selling, they have met the taxes which they are supposed to pay. We are over 80%, monitoring every retail station, testing the product.
Our ICT department has developed an information management system specifically to manage the verification of these road tanks, which has greatly improved our turnaround time, although we still have other interventions in the area of ICT to get better service delivery. It's capable of registering the clients. We are able to register the clients. We are able to register the trucks and associate them with their owners. We are also able to do verification that when we pick the raw data from the calibration rig,
we are able to input in the system, and it has been given the instructions to follow based on the bulk measures law, and give us a certificate, which soon we shall be able to have the public access, and the quantities that we establish here are available for use at the different places. This is the UNBS calibration rig. The rig started the operations in 2008 after the law that regulates the calibration of those equipment came in force in 2007. Before taxation, we need to know what quantity is being taxed. And the only way we can know is by having a certified measure. And the calibration rig is the facility where we do establish the volumes that are on those trucks. That helps us also, it helps the fuel marking program, because then we know what volumes are being marked and we can match with the marker and get the right concentrations. After that, this is the same volume that is delivered to the fuel depots. And at the fuel depot, the manager who is receiving the product needs to know whether what has been declared is actually arriving there. These are the measures that we use that these people also use in that place to establish that the quantities have been.
You're watching a Youth TV, empowering